Coming up on How Do They Do It? How do they tempt twitchy ducks close enough to blast them out of the water? How do they squeeze 150 years of Italian craftsmanship into one accordion? And how do they make the wasabi paste that puts a kick in Japan's raw fish? We take you around the world to show you how on How Do They Do It?
Hunting takes skill, patience, and a big gun. But even the hottest of shots won't bag a bird if it's half a mile away. Luring them in close enough to aim at means using a caller. So how do they do it? The Florida Everglades cover 4,000 square miles. That's the same as 2 million very wet football fields. All these reeds and marshes are a bird magnet. But early February can be a bad time of year to have feathers. Predators stalk these wetlands, some with 4 legs and some with 2. Near the town of Clewiston, a group is gathering to continue the oldest tradition in the world: hunting. The season for adults finished a week ago, so today it's just the kids who'll be catching dinner.
Every year there's a 2-day youth hunt in the duck season, at the end of the season, dedicated just to the children. It's all about the kids. If you get a kid into hunting and the parents to get involved, then we, as they say, we know where they are. They're not on the streets.
I love just getting out here and trying to shoot the ducks.
But the big problem for young hunters is they aren't strong enough to use the powerful shot that's effective over longer ranges. So they have to lure the ducks in even closer than normal.
Amazingly, the duck calling up until the 1930s was either by mouth, or you actually used a tame mallard duck called an English caller, and they would set them in the decoys with a leg tied, and they would call the ducks down out of the sky. They also were named Judas callers. But in the 1930s that was banned for obvious reasons.
These days, hunters use things called calls. Miniature instruments that are like Spanish fly to a passing bird. Giving his duck call a blow here is Chuck Echenique, private investigator and expert duck call maker. Each year he and his buddy Doug take their daughters out for a hunt and then cook up what they bag. To lure the birds in close, he uses a variety of calls that perfectly mimic different wildfowl.
Mastering the callers takes an array of techniques. The range of duck sounds is vast, and copying them requires incredible skill. This is Mozart to a bird's ear, and should bring in plenty of target practice at tomorrow's annual family hunt.
It's one of my favorite places to come hunt with my girls. We're going to be going out here early in the morning to try and get them on some ducks. But right now, we're going to head back to camp and we're going to turn some calls.
Back in camp, Chuck gets down to the business of crafting a duck call. But accurately copying a duck's call isn't easy.
There's a real art to making duck calls. I've been doing it for 15 years and I'm still learning every day. There's a lot of history and a lot of love that goes into this craft. I'm just glad I can be part of the brotherhood.
Duck calls are like small saxophones, with an amplifying body and a mouthpiece containing reeds. Step 1 is creating the main body, basically a miniature megaphone. When finished, this will amplify the call around the swamp.
Ooh, that's hotter than a burnt boot.
Chuck then starts on the insert. This is the mouthpiece that houses the reeds and determines the quality of the sound, so getting it right is crucial. The last thing you want when you're in a fetid swamp is a splinter.
And this is just to get the rough bumps out of it. Now I'll polish it.
As each is crafted by hand, no one caller is the same. And to Chuck, they're more than just lures. They're things of beauty.
They're kind of like women. They've all got their own characteristics, and none of them is perfect. But they're all beautiful in their own way.
Calls can be made from acrylic or wood. So now it's a question of what wood would Chuck choose if Chuck could choose his wood.
This is Burmese blackwood. Exotic woods are more dense, so they have better tonality.
Next, it's time to create the sounding board. This will house two reeds that vibrate to form the basic duck sound.
After carving the tube into the correct contours, he carefully tapers off one end to get the desired shape.
It's important for the wood to feel comfortable between your lips.
Happy with his handiwork, it's time to insert two reeds that will reproduce the raspy quack of a duck.
We have the base reed, top reed, just like Clarence Clemens' sax.
The insert's then slotted into the main body and given a workout.
That's duck for come here, big boy.
Chuck's confident, but all this hard work means nothing if his calls don't hit the right notes.
Well, the call sounds good to me, but the real test is going to come in the morning. The ducks will be the judge.
Following morning, 2 a.m. Chuck, his buddy Doug, and their daughters Elizabeth and Maddie are heading out to hunt.
That's all right. We can push it through this.
They need to find a good place to hide before the birds wake up, but getting there isn't easy. The swamp is a labyrinth of barely passable waterways, but Chuck's mental map takes him through it.
There's a pocket back here that I really like to sit in. Slide back in here.
One of his still pointed at the duck decoys.
Let's do a pocket off to the left, a pocket right, and leave the opening landing in the center so they've got a good place to shoot. Decoys are arranged to make a flock, made from sterner stuff than feathers. These are a induction mold decoy, which means that they're heavy duty, they're extremely thick, very heavy, will withstand being shot by the hunters. They won't puncture very easily, and they'll last longer than the less expensive thin plastic material decoys. The last two out and get ourselves tucked away to hunt the morning.
Finally, it's time to pull out the hardware. 20-gauge shotguns with a child-friendly recoil. Locked and load, Chuck then gets down to the business of luring the prey in.
This is the most important part, putting our work to the test.
Hunting is all about playing the waiting game. But as dawn approaches, the birds wake up, and they're finding Chuck hard to resist.
Take him. Chuck it. He's gone.
The problem is that the guns are only effective at close range.
We're trying to get the birds into the decoys at about 10 to 15 yards, so that the girls can put down a quick lethal shot without having to expend a whole lot of energy and hopefully reduce the missing.
To lure them in, Chuck twitches the decoys into life and then goes through his full repertoire of bird sounds.
The decoys and the calls are working, so hopefully as the morning progresses we'll get some more action and hopefully get the girls to put some birds down on the water for us.
With 10-foot gators nearby, vigilance is as important as a good aim.
Shovel coming in, gonna land out there in the middle. Ready? Get on him.
So far they're not having much luck, but Chuck doesn't seem to mind.
Sun's out, it's a beautiful day. Perfect day to be on the marsh with your friends and your family. Just enjoying nature. You got him!
By mimicking a mallard, Chuck has lured one in close enough for Elizabeth to kill. Doug heads out to collect it, and Chef Chuck plans the night's meal.
When we get these home, we'll breast them out and marinate them a little bit, let them sit, and then probably just saute them medium rare. Little wild rice, Fantastic table fare. Wonderful meal.
Happy with their night's work, the boys collect their decoys and retrieve their kit. And after heading back to camp, Doug carves up dinner, while Chuck lays on some musical accompaniment.